Well, I was born with central neural hearing loss in both ears, which means that I was born without certain nerves in both ears. And as a result of being hard of hearing, I kind of bounced between the deaf and the hearing worlds from a really young age. I would bounce from like sound language classes to music, and then just kind of go back and forth. And I never really quite fit in one world or the other. And that tension between the deaf and the hearing world was a really strong driving force when I was writing ultrasound. Another element was heavy metal. I'm a brain metalhead. It runs in my DNA, thanks to my dad. The most forgotten things, I think, are sightlines. You always want to make sure that you're visible to everybody, because if you're sitting around a table and you're discussing a particular scene or a particular line, you may be facing this way, but the person who needs to read your lips or see what's going on is sitting over here. And so you want to make sure that either that you stand up or that you make sure that you're standing at the front of the room and making sure that everybody is able to see you, whether it's deaf people or whether it's the hearing people in the room. So visibility. Probably the most valuable thing I've learned is to be open. When I first wrote ultrasound, it was my first play, and I was just used to writing novels and writing poetry, and I also had not had an extensive interaction with the deaf community. And I thought that this was just a really crucial and interesting story to tell. And as we worked our way through the development of ultrasound and developed it to its production, I realized that it was opening a whole new world for me. And there were things that challenged me personally that I hadn't thought about before. Sometimes there were things that at times discomforted me, but at the same time I took it upon myself to go with it because it was best for the play, and it was just artistically productive. A more concrete example of that is I'm not used to receiving feedback from so many people. And I'm used to just writing something and then kind of being guarded about it. You can't touch it. Get your fingers off it. But with ultrasound, I have the good fortune to work with so many different people and so many wonderful people. And I had to learn to trust others, to bring in their feedback, and to trust that they wanted what was best for the play just like I did. And that was a revelation for me, was going through that process. I think that the biggest thing that I have learned personally is just the inherent potential that is there for deaf and hard of hearing artists. When I first wrote the play, I thought that it was just me, because in Saskatoon, deaf and hard of hearing people are often very isolated. There used to be a school for the deaf in Saskatoon, but it closed in the 1980s, and as a result of that, the deaf community has scattered. And it's not as centralized as it is here in Toronto. In writing ultrasound, it was just, kind of me alone, sitting at my laptop and thinking, this is it, it's just me. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find anybody else who can relate to what I'm writing about. Over the course of the process, when we had that initial workshop in Saskatoon, we had a dozen members of the deaf community show up at the public reading there. And that for me was a wake-up call. There are people who are interested in these stories. There are people who brought these stories to get out there. And coming here to Toronto, where the deaf community is much more centralized and much more concentrated, it's been a wonderful revelation for me, because I'm not alone. And there's so much potential in telling and getting these stories out there. And deaf people have just this fantastic and beautiful culture, but not very many people are aware of it. And it feels like with this play and with other endeavors that are taking place in America, that are taking place in Canada, that are taking place in the UK, these other endeavors that we're doing are letting people know that deaf people have a very strong cultural voice, and they're not going away. And no matter how scattered they may be, no matter how much you try to ignore them, they're not going away. And that is something that for me has been extraordinarily empowering. Seeing the ultrasound poster on the theatre Passe Muraille on that famous brick wall, that for me is what I'm most proud of. It means validation. It means because deaf people have a really difficult time trying to get their stories out there, trying to get their stories heard. And to have two fantastic theatre companies throw their weight behind this play it feels like a seismic shift. Don't be afraid of difference. Be open to things and stories and people who are unfamiliar, because they can show you things that would just completely blow your mind. I would say be prepared and do your homework, because there are so many different resources out there that you can contact the local deaf and hard of hearing services and ask, do you have any events going on? Can we see how deaf people communicate? Can we take a sign language class? You can also go on YouTube and see videos of sign language poetry. If you've been to America, you can go to see Spring Awakening on Broadway, because that's gaining such a huge following right now. There are so many different resources that can help you become more familiar with deaf culture and with American Sign Language. So be prepared and do your homework. #1 priority.